Hey guys, this is Javin with AudioMediaProductionService.com. Today we're going to talk about the dynamics section and the gate section of the Behringer X32. To start, on the fat channel we do have a view button on both these sections. We have a compressor engage or an expander engage, and on the gate section a view button and a gate engage and disengage. We also have a threshold knob on both of those for quick access to the threshold during the show. Compressors and limiters are used to even out dynamics in any performance. They make the loud and the quiet passages pretty much closer in volume to each other, providing a more consistent performance. They have all sorts of applications in pro audio, whether helping out a weak performance, preventing clipping on a multi-track, preventing quiet parts from being drowned out in a mix, or making the final mix louder on a CD. A compressor is used pretty much to reduce the dynamic range of any signal. Simply, compressors turn down the loudest parts, and once the loud parts are compressed, the output level can be used to return them to their original volume, effectively making quiet passages louder. When it comes to limiters, essentially a limiter is just a compressor, but with some bold settings. Using a high ratio makes it very hard for incoming audio to make any real volume changes in the compressor's output, essentially setting a limit for how loud the audio can go. Thus, a compressor with a high ratio is referred to as a limiter. In order to effectively set a limit, a fast attack time is required to prevent the transients from sneaking through. Okay, so with the Behringer X32, we can, on the compressor section, we can choose a compressor or an expander. If we move over to the screen on the compressor section, you can see that we have a threshold, and you got a button to activate it or disengage it. You have a ratio, and then underneath the ratio, the button pretty much is what you can choose to choose the compressor or the expander. We have an attack time. We have peak and RMS attack. The attack time is how fast the compressor clamps down on the signal. The hold time is how long the signal is held there before the compressor releases. And then the release time is how fast the compressor releases off the signal. And then, of course, we have our makeup gain. On the Behringer X32, we also have another page of settings. Once we get into this page of settings, we still have the threshold. We have a mix, so you can choose how much of the compressor is in your mix on that channel. We have a knee. Setting a faster knee allows more of the signal to come through. Softer knee will more smoothly clamp down on the signal. Limiters typically have a faster or a more pointier knee. We also have a key filter. This will allow us to kind of pinpoint one certain frequency that we want to compress, or where the compressor starts working pretty much. It'll still compress the whole signal, but one frequency will engage the compressor to clamp down on it. We have a key solo, and that's so we can hear which frequency we were choosing over in the key filter. And then we also have a key source. The key source on the Behringer X32, for an example, you can use, if we were to use a ducker, which we'll get to later, a ducker, if you were let's say the fundamental in the kick drum, the bass was drowning out that fundamental in the kick drum and not allowing the kick drum to really punch through the mix. The bass was fighting that fundamental frequency. What you can do is set a ducker up and key source the ducker over to the kick drum channel, and every time the kick drum hits, you can choose the frequency that you want to be reduced, so you can reduce the fundamental in the bass guitar of where the kick drum lies, effectively allowing the kick drum to come through the mix. And I actually do that when I set up my bass and my kick, and I find that you get kind of a punchier sound out of it. So, and then they were working together too. So, moving on, we can choose an expander. I'm actually going to choose an expander on a different channel because I don't want you to hear what an expander does to my vocal, because you won't understand me. Expander is kind of a gate kind of situation, but it's actually pushing down the signal more smoothly. Unlike a gate will engage and then disengage very quickly. Let's see. We'll talk about ducking. Using a signal to trigger the gain reduction or compression of another. That's what a ducker does. This automatically makes one signal turn down every time the other is present. A brick wall limiter is a type of limiter. That's a compressor with a super fast attack time and a really high ratio. Not even fast transients can escape this compressor. Once the audio goes above the threshold, it's like running into a brick wall. There's multi-band compressors is another type of compressor, which the Behringer X32 does have these compressors in there, but they're on the effects section. And pretty much that is a compressor of certain bandwidths. So say you wanted to compress just the high mids of a signal, you could do that, which is very effective and very good at problem solving. So next we're going to move to the gate section. Once again, we have the engage button and the threshold. Over on the screen of the gate, we have the threshold again, and then next to it we have the mode, which this sets it to a gate or a ducker or an expander. We have an attack time, which is how fast the gate will open up. We have the hold time, which is how long the signal will hold there before the gate closes. And then we have the release time, and that's how fast the gate releases off the signal. We have the range, so that's how much, when the gate is closed, that's how many decimals the gate is closed down. So typically a good range for me for a kick drum, this is all personal preference, but I use a range of 40 decimals. I don't close it off completely. You'll find that sometimes you'll get a really bad sound if you close it off completely. It'll other instruments, especially in a live situation, will trigger the gate to open. And going on to the next page, you can actually choose which frequency you want to open the gate on. So right now I got a frequency of 74 hertz, which is about where the low fundamentals are in the kick drum. So that's going to trigger my gate to open when that frequency comes through on that signal. We got a key solo. Again, we can solo that frequency and hear which frequency in that signal that we wanted to engage the gate. And then we have the key source. And the key source, once again, we can choose another channel to have the gate work from. And that pretty much covers gates and compression. I talked a little bit about ducking. If I was to engage a ducker here, I'll show you. Put that in. If I bring the threshold down on it, I might actually have to do it to my vocal since that's the only signal coming into the board. Yeah, I'm going to select that. I'm going to select ducker. I'm going to engage it. And now you'll see I'm cutting in and out, and it doesn't sound very good. Let me go up to the next page. I can change the range on this so that way it's not so many decimals. But you'll see once I go past the threshold, it's going to reduce my volume by that many decimals of the range I chose. So, hey, test 2. Hey, check 2, 2. Doesn't sound very good on a vocal, but that's essentially what a ducker does. Good applications to use a compressor on. You can see that I got one on my vocal right now. Vocals are very good to use compressors on. If you really want to get that fast attack sound, that really snappy snare drum, you can use a higher ratio on a snare drum and get it to clamp down. And that's how you can get that really tight sounding snare. I do that on all my snare channels. If you go over to my snare channel, you can see that I got a ratio of, let's see, wrong page, ratio of 7. That's how far the slope, when it reaches above that threshold, that's how far the signal goes. It clamps down on. I got a fast attack because it's a snare drum and a fast transient type instrument. And it kind of got a slow release because it is a snare. I don't want you to hear that pumping sound off of it. But that's one trick you can do on a snare drum to get it really sounding really snappy and tight sounding. You'll hear it in a lot of recordings too. So that covers the gate and the compressor section of the Behringer X32. If you like the videos I'm doing, please subscribe to my channel. Go visit my website at audiomediaproductionservice.com. If you have any other ideas for me to do other videos, I'd appreciate it. I'm always looking for new ideas. And please leave a comment down below. Thanks.